Okay, so today's video is pretty important because I'm going to be teaching you how to avoid leaks in your camper van or mobile base camp, as we like to call it here at DIY Camper Build, forever. Like you're just never going to have to worry about leaks. And that all starts with a simple recommendation, whether you're doing the installation yourself. Like most likely this is going to happen from a roof vent that you installed, or maybe the place where you put the cables for the solar panel or whatever. But most of the time it's because of the roof vent installation. And the number one cause of leaks in, camper vans or RVs, motorhomes, is using the wrong product. So in this case, the wrong product, which is recommended quite a bit in the community. Like if you go on forums and stuff, they're gonna tell you to use butyl tape, and I'm gonna tell you, do not use butyl tape. Avoid it at all costs. It is the worst possible product for this kind of job, and I'll explain to you why. I personally had leaks with butyl tape, and it's basically, this is what was the cause of it. So if you don't know what butyl tape is, check it out. But it's got kind of like this black tarry kind of adhesive, and it's sensitive to heat. So if you heat it up and stuff, it becomes all like mushy, kind of like molasses is the best way to describe it. But in the cold, it becomes like super rigid, like, like it doesn't even stick in the cold. So what happens is if you live in a climate where, there's summer, winter, and the temperatures fluctuate a lot, like in Canada, some of the northern states, that kind of stuff. Well, what's gonna happen is you're gonna install it in the summer, okay? And then by the time winter comes, the tape is gonna get all rigid. It's gonna create some openings or micro openings because it's not gonna have time to heat up before the summer, because it's gonna go through the fall once the snow starts melting, and the tape is still gonna be rigid, so it wouldn't have had a chance to, take the shape of the metal, especially if there's like gutters and stuff. And anyways, I'll show you guys some pictures if I can. But the way some of these roofs are designed, they're designed so that you get leaks. So anyways, so butyl tape, that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna get rigid, and because it won't have time to like harden, well, to take the shape of the roof, you'll have those micro openings that were created during the colder months, and you're gonna have leaks. And you're gonna have no idea what to do because it's gonna happen to you. You might be on a job, you might be out in the middle of nowhere, and you might not be equipped to handle the leak. In my case, I was, luckily enough. So I'll give you guys a little emergency repair kit instructions at the end of the video if you guys are interested. But I'm gonna just start by saying avoid butyl tape at all costs. If you're doing it yourself, and if you have someone else do it, make sure they avoid butyl tape. And I'm gonna tell you what to do instead. So the product to use, and this is the product that's used in by professionals for RVs, motorhomes, and even boats. It's called Sikaflex. So that's the name of the brand, and there's a specific type of Sikaflex that you're gonna use. I'll leave a link to that product in the description. They don't always have it at hardware stores because it's such a specialty item, I guess, even though it's not really. It's just, but it is specialized in RVs, motorhomes, and that kind of stuff. So maybe that's why. But you need that product. So if you have to order it on Amazon, order it on Amazon, because that's where I ordered it from. And that's the first thing you're gonna put. So that's the sealant. You're gonna put enough of that to create, like when you're gonna put the roof vent, let's say, or whatever you're putting on top, it's just gonna squish it and it's gonna come out on the sides. That's, you realize, oh, that's disgusting. It's supposed to do that because then if it's coming out of the sides, you put enough. If it's not coming out the sides, you didn't put enough. That's how you know. I'll do a video maybe explaining how I applied it. I'll actually demonstrate some stuff for you because obviously I'm not gonna undo my roof vent because there's a lot of layers, and I'm gonna talk to you about the layers. But that's the first thing you put. Theoretically, if you do that and you do it properly and use your finger or like some sort of a caulking, sculpting tool to make a really nice joint around it, you shouldn't have any leaks. But if you have like a max air fan, for example, ones with like the moats around it, they say it's supposed to help like purge water or whatever. Don't listen to them. That shit doesn't work. We're gonna talk about the next step now, which is using some sort of a silicone or, a similar product like Dynaflex Ultra. That's what I used. But it has to be exterior grade. So that's the second layer. So the first thing you're gonna do if you have any moats or any of that stuff there that they say supposedly works, just read the comments on Amazon. Everybody's had leaks because of that, or supposedly because of that. I personally can't confirm 100%, but I'm pretty sure I got some leaks. So you wanna fill those, and I'll show you a picture of what I mean, but you wanna fill in those cracks with the silicone. And then what else you wanna do with the silicone is create a slope, like a pyramid on each side. That way, if there's no water that can build up essentially around the screws, like on the rim of the roof vent, like nothing can build up essentially. So, and you might want to do a skim coat after that, so it's like looks like really smooth. You might not be able to do that after the first try. You'll have like some tool marks. It won't look as nice. So that's what the skim coat is for, to just polish it up a little bit. And then once that's done, you might think like, there's no way I'm going to get a leak after this. And you're probably right, but I add an extra third step, and that's to put Flex Seal, not the one in the spray can, but the one that you can paint on, because that one is self-leveling. So you can actually smooth out any inconsistencies with the Flex Seal. So it'll look nicer, because after you can paint it, or you can actually get the white Flex Seal. That way you don't even have to paint. And it'll look like really smooth to the touch, like a smooth self-leveled matte finish. And that's how you make it look pro, and how you guarantee that any like possibly micro openings in the silicone, or potentially even the Sikaflex, there's nothing that's going to go in there. So if you do that, if you put the 3 layers, which is the Sikaflex, the silicone or exterior grade silicone hybrid, and as well as the Flex Seal on top of that, you're never going to get a leak. This applies to any type of installation, not just the roof vents, solar panels, cable openings, you know, junction boxes, that kind of stuff. Just do those 3 layers, okay? And make sure you give them enough time to cure, because the Sikaflex is going to take at least 3 to 4 days, depending on the temperature, to cure properly. And you know, the silicone is going to probably take about the same time. So just make sure you leave enough time for everything to cure properly, and you're doing this in not the middle of winter, and you'll be fine. So now for that emergency repair kit, if you have leaks. So flex tape, or like the what do you call it, the T-Rex tape, avoid that shit. It doesn't work. I've tried it in the middle, you know, it's raining outside. If it's not raining, maybe. But if it's raining, which is like normally when you get the leak, right? When it's raining. So you want something to be able to fix it like while it's raining outside. So the first thing you're going to want to have on hand is a heat gun. Okay, that's going to help you with stuff. And I know I said don't use butyl tape, but this is the only situation where I recommend using butyl tape, because, you know, like what you can do is you can put it like, even if it's still a bit wet, the spot, you can dry it up as best as you can with like Scott towels or chamois or something. And, you know, you're going to dry the spot with the heat gun as much as you can to heat it up. You can put the Flex Seal where the leak is, or where you think the leak. Oftentimes it's going to be like a little tiny hole. So you just need to cover that, but you put the gun at the highest heat. You put it on the butyl tape so it melts. Like, so you see like it starts becoming like that molasses texture. You put it, and you put something over it so that when it cools down, which it probably will if it's raining, and like I said, this is probably happening to you in the spring. So just let it cure, like, you know, cool down so it becomes hard. And in those cases, butyl tape can actually be like an emergency repair thing. But don't use it as like the main thing to do the job. Because why did I end up using it? Because it was recommended in one of the forums. You know, when I was just starting out, they said, oh, use butyl tape. That's what they use. Even if you're in Florida and you don't have to deal with the cold weather, it might work. Maybe in Florida, warmer climates, it might be okay. But still, it's not the most professional product for the job. Use Sikaflex. Use butyl tape as an emergency repair patch, because then it might actually be a pretty good thing. But avoid 100% flex tape and T-Rex tape. That stuff doesn't work.
All right, guys, that's it for this one. If you're building something that's meant to last, whether it's a camper van, a business, or just a better way of living, I'm glad you're here. Everything I use, recommend, or offer is linked in the description. Take what works, build your own blueprint, and I'll see you in the next one.